Book title: Aishvarya the Cult. Author's name: M. Aishvarya. Book company: Blue Hills Publications. Chapter title: The Eclipse, Volume I, Dormitory Matter. Note: the above manuscript is based on a chapter from the novel Aishvarya the Cult, written by M. Aishvarya, going to be published by Blue Hills Publications. Copyright reserved by Blue Hills Publications. The Eclipse, Volume I, Dormitory Matter. Author name: M. Aishvarya. Mr. Agasti was moving about in his room restlessly. He had got the view of the boy who had killed his daughter. He punched the wall out of anger. He wanted to kill that paper boy in revenge. But he also knew that it would not be a wise thing because it would lead to a legal issue. That fellow is moving about freely and I cannot take my revenge, said Mr. Agasti to himself. He sat on his bed, looking frustrated. At an unknown location. Revenge, and that too at random? Not good. Very unwise of you, Mr. Agasti, remarked the hermit. Mr. Agasti kept his head bowed. Rather enjoy the time that you have got with your daughter, advised the hermit. At home, Mr. Agasti was in his room, thinking deeply. Revenge will not do anything good for me now, said Mr. Agasti to himself. I must focus on meeting my daughter only, he added. A few days later, a to-let notice was hanging on the gate of Mr. Agasti's house. Mr. Agasti had given the house to a dealer to turn it into a dormitory for girls to live in. In the room, Mr. Agasti and his wife, along with Delta, moved to a different house, leaving this house to be used as a dormitory. And here I end my narration, declared Malvika. Nice narration, but what happened to the murderer? And did Mr. Agasti meet Kavya anymore or not? Asked Kusum. Look at the time and then ask the question. We have to wake up early, replied Malvika. It is bedtime now, said Nisha. What will be done with this narration? Asked Kusum. Anything. Movie manuscript writer or a novel writer. Anything can be done, replied Nisha. The girls began to lay on their respective beds to rest. Good night, everyone, said Nisha. Good night, said Malvika. Good night, said Kusum. Who will turn off the light? Asked Nisha. Not me, said Kusum. Okay, I will, said Malvika. Malvika went to the switchboard and looked at the girls. They were lying on their beds. Malvika switched off the light and returned to her bed. Later at night, Malvika began to twist her body on the bed. She sat on the bed and shook her body in a to and fro movement as if possessed. Then she lay on her bed. Kavya appeared and stood near the bed of Kusum. The ghost climbed onto the bed and began to bite the neck of the girl. An hour before, during the power cut, Malvika had panicked and fallen on the floor while returning from the washroom. Kavya had held her down and then possessed her body. When the power was back, a possessed Malvika had entered the room. Back to the room. Kavya bit the neck of Malvika and then went to the bed of Nisha. In another dimension, Kavya was sitting beside Mr. Agasti. You ate your food? Asked Mr. Agasti. Yes, Dad, said Kavya. Then it was a good decision to make the house into a hostel for you to get food, remarked Mr. Agasti. Dad, it is called dormitory, said Kavya. Hostel, said Mr. Agasti. Dormitory, said Kavya. Hostel, said Mr. Agasti. The father and daughter argued over the dormitory matter. In the hostel, Kavya was biting the neck of Nisha. About the author. M. Aishvarya, fondly called Maverick Aishvarya by his friends, is a prolific writer. He is currently working as a manuscript writer for movie making.